Hi everyone, my name is Jama and I am with Women's Net, and we are so excited to host our very first webinar series. And we have with us today Emily Gertenbach from EG Creative Content. And today she is going to be speaking with us on the topic of search engine optimization. So we have a series of topics. We conducted a needs assessment about a year ago, and a couple topics emerged as needs from our Women's Net Network saying, hey, we want to know more about these topics. And so we hope to provide them to you through this series. And we're so excited to get our first one. So the way this is going to work today is Emily will present to us for about 15 minutes. And I know some of you have submitted questions to us. So then after the 15 minutes, we'll get to some of the questions that you've asked. And she will cover some of those questions during her presentation, some after. And then afterwards, she will let us know a little bit more about a guide that she's written for the Women's Net community, answering further questions that weren't able to get answered during the presentation. So thank you so much, Emily, for taking the time to be with us. We are so excited to know more about SEO. So please help us to broaden our knowledge on this.
Absolutely. I am excited to. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to come talk to everyone about SEO today. I have a presentation I'm going to start. We'll move through the presentation. We'll cover some of the questions that I know were submitted in advance. And then, like you said, we'll take some time to answer them at the end. All right, let me share here. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to dive into search engine optimization and talk about some of the best practices that you can learn about and think about in order to make your site more of a traffic driving, business driving tool for your organization. So, first off, who am I? As John said, my name's Emily. I am an SEO consultant and I've been working as an SEO writer, meaning I create optimized content for marketing for over 14 years. I work with everyone from independent freelancers all the way through large corporations, and I live up in the Boston metro area. So, what exactly is SEO? Now, very textbook definition is that it's the strategies and techniques that you're going to use to increase the visibility and rank of a page in organic search results. So, let's see what that looks like in action. Now, let's say that you own the website Design Rush, which we see in this screenshot here appearing in the third spot on a Google search engine results page. SEO is a way that you could intentionally make an effort to move that website from the third spot up to the first. It can also involve taking measures to get your site to appear in special features on a search engine results page. And if you go to Google, sometimes you'll see at the top when you do a search a paragraph that's an explanation that answers your question, or you will see, like I have illustrated on the screen here, questions where it says people also ask, and there's little drop downs so you can learn more information. You can use SEO to get your website to appear in these special features on a search engine results page, which gives you multiple ways to appear in the top when someone's doing a query that's related to your business. So there's a little bit of an art, a little bit of a science, and a lot of creativity because you're figuring out what people are searching for and then coming up with ways to make sure that your website is presented as the best answer. And when you go through this process and you increase your rank, you can ultimately drive more business to your establishment or your website because SEO works for both physical websites and also for driving foot traffic to retail locations. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later on in this presentation. And throughout the course of this talk today, we're going to refer to Google a lot when we're talking about SEO, but I want everyone to know that SEO techniques work across all search engines. We typically refer to Google because it's the biggest search engine that most people use, but if you're taking the steps to improve your website's SEO, you're going to see higher rank on Google, and you can also see higher rank on other search engines like Bing and Yahoo. Now, why do you need to think about SEO? I found this chart really interesting. This was actually released earlier this week by a data research firm and another SEO company, and it shows which websites online are driving the most traffic to other sites. It can be very easy for a lot of us to think, okay, well, I need to market my business. I'm just going to focus on social media. And that social media can be a great way to build brand awareness and get your products or your services in front of more people. But The main goal of any social media platform, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, is to keep users on that platform. The goal is not to push people to external websites. So, if you have valuable content on your website or services and products for sale on your website, social media sites are not going to reliably push people to your site, but search engines will. If we look here, Google refers 63.41% of all traffic to other people's websites. Bing is a close second, and YouTube follows behind it because while YouTube is social media, it's owned by Google, so it functions also very much like a search engine in some ways. So, this isn't to say that you need to discount social media, but it's just to illustrate that it's very important not to ignore SEO, especially if you have a website that you're using for your business, because it's hugely important. It's a hugely important factor in driving traffic to that site. Also, you own your website. You don't own your social media. You might own the content you've created for it, but Google, or not Google, sorry, uh, TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, they can shut down your social media page at any time. Just on March 5th, there was a large Facebook outage that happened, and a lot of people weren't able to access their Facebook pages. If that was the main driver of your business, that would have been a problem. It could have stalled sales or traffic for the day. Similarly, I have an Instagram page for my business. I don't actually post on it. I just have it to own the handle, but for some reason Instagram one day decided that it didn't think I was real and it shut down my account, and I had to go through a multi-step verification process including photographing myself and my license and jumping through all these hoops just to get that back. If I had been relying on only that social media channel to drive my business, I would have been in a really sticky spot. Focusing on SEO also helps to establish credibility and authority in an industry. It could keep your business ahead of competitors, and when people like other businesses, bloggers, news media outlets are looking for experts on a specific topic, they're most likely to turn to Google search, and they're going to be able to find your website, connect with you, and potentially even create content about you and link back to your site, which again is also good for very good for SEO. Now, there's a few different types of SEO. We're going to go over these briefly. There's a lot to it, which I cover in more detail in some of the resources that we'll talk about at the end of our presentation. But these are the top things you need to know about the types of SEO and how to figure out which one is right for your business. So, first off, there's something called on page SEO. That's the process of putting content on your website, like when you write a blog post. Then we have off page SEO. That's when you work to get links to your site placed on other reputable websites. This overlaps a lot with public relations. For instance, I once got contacted by someone from a website that provides legal services. They had questions about SEO. They wanted to talk to an expert and write about it in an article on their blog. They did that. They linked back to my site. They have a very well known, reputable site. And so that actually benefits my site in the long run. It's kind of like the value from one site that links to you, it passes through to yours. And in the eyes of a search engine, your site becomes more valuable and trustworthy. And lastly, we have local SEO. This is the process of optimizing your website and information about your business to make sure that they appear in Google Maps results, Apple Maps results, and searches people make in their local area. For instance, if I live in Lowell, Massachusetts, if I type in shoe stores in Lowell, Massachusetts, businesses that have made sure that their local SEO is optimized will show up in the search results, complete with directions on how to get there, reviews for the store, and maybe even pictures of their products. Those are all local SEO benefits. Now, there's a few building blocks to SEO, and this goes across all the different types of SEO that we just discussed. The first one is keywords and content. For SEO to work, you need to have a website. Even if you're doing local SEO and trying to drive traffic to a physical location, you still have to have a website to get this process started. And you need to have information about your business on there. Then your pages need to be structured appropriately. They need to have good images that illustrate who you are, or what your products are, and they need to contain links both to other pages on your site, like page A pointing to page B, and also to other websites that might be of use to your visitors. For keywords and content, you want to focus on using real terms that people are searching online. You want to put these terms in the URL and you want to put them throughout your page. And you want to be specific but also realistic. So my example here might be a little silly, but for instance, if I sold soap, for me to just use the term soap on my website would be very vague. There's lots of companies that sell soap. You can get it at the grocery store, you can buy handmade soap. There's a whole world of soap, thousands and thousands of results online. Now, if I sell organic goat milk soap, I want to be specific and explain that's exactly what I'm offering. Because then, if people are looking for organic soap, handmade soap, goat milk soap, they're going to be more likely to find my business. But I wouldn't want to go too far in the other direction and start making up terms, calling it a farm sourced sudsing milk bar or something like that, because that's not a real term that anyone's going to think of when they search for soap. So it's about finding that sweet spot using real terms and being very descriptive. You also want to make sure that you're using these terms in the right places on your website. So, whenever you create a new page on your website, you have the option to style some of your text as the header 1 and the header 2. These are very important because they provide signals to search engines, which can't read the same way you and I do. They provide signals to search engines to let them know what is the most important topic on a page. So, whatever you put and label as the header 1 is considered to be the most important topic, and whatever you label as the header 2 is a supporting topic that adds to it. Also, want to keep images on your website. This is nice from a user experience perspective, helps people understand more about what you do, context behind your business. Um, and it's very important to use original photos if you are selling products, especially if you're reselling them, wholesaling them, or drop shipping them. If you're getting the products that you sell from other manufacturers, you want to make sure you're taking an original photo yourself or with a photographer you work with, and not just using the picture provided by the manufacturer. And the reason for that is it's possible to do a search based on an image. And if someone takes an image that they see, maybe on social media, it's a product from your website, and they put it into Google's image search, if you're using a manufacturer's product, they might get hundreds of results all with the same picture. They're not going to be able to connect with your business. But if they've started with an original picture that you've created, they're going to be able to more likely connect with your specific business and purchase from you. And lastly, we want to make sure that you have links between pages on your site that help search engines move from page to page and figure out how all the different topics on your site relate to each other and figure out where to place you in search results. You want to, as we mentioned before, get links from other reputable sites whenever possible, especially through like public relations efforts. And you want to give links to other reputable sites. If you interview someone for your blog or you collaborate with an artisan on a product line, make sure that you're giving them a link, referencing who they are, sending people also over to their website. You don't need to link directly to your competitors, but anyone who you admire or do business with, it can be a good idea to put links in on your site as well. It helps to show Google that, you're a team player, you're giving and you're receiving. And over time, as your website grows in value for SEO, you can start passing some of that SEO benefit on to the people that you like to work with as well. Now, I know this has been kind of a whirlwind of information. I did want to mention just a few more things that are very important. Now, unlike what I said previously, these that I'm about to talk about, these are very specific to Google. So while all the SEO we discussed prior to this point works for all search engines, these three things are very specific to boosting your ranking on Google search results. First is a tool called Google Search Console. It's a free tool. You can set it up. If you search just for Google Search Console, you can create an account and Google will walk you through the setup process. And what this does is it will connect to your website, and over time, it will let you see what search terms you are appearing in the results for. And there can be some fun little surprises in there. I do SEO, and sometimes, I go and I look at what my site is appearing for, and I'm surprised. And it's actually given me some ideas for new content and services and things to talk about. Next is your Google Business Profile. If you have a physical location, you want to create a Google Business Profile account and claim this as your own. You can add your business information, your hours of operation, your menu, some photos, whatever it may be. That will help make sure that you are showing up in results for searches done by people in your local area. And lastly is Google Merchant Center. Again, these are all free tools, and Google Merchant Center allows you to speed up the process at which your e-commerce shop products appear in Google shopping results. So they'll usually wind up there anyway, but setting up Merchant Center can give you a little more control over the process and make sure that things are showing up faster and more accurately. Now, we are going to delve into the Q&A here. I'm going to pass it back to Gemma in just a minute. I did want to let you know that I have put together some resources for tools that you can use. They're free or low cost. The Women's Net team has that. They'll be putting them online in the coming days. But until then, if you're interested, you're welcome to go to my website, to this link here that I've created for the Women's Net group, and you can go in and sign up, and I will email you a guide that I have that gives you 3 steps that you can take this week to improve your SEO. It also goes a little deeper into what you need to know and look for when you're considering working with an SEO expert or someone to help you with your digital marketing. So now I'm going to pass it back and we can go ahead and get into some of the questions here. I took a look at them and I'm pretty excited to go over them with everyone. So, Gemma, I'm going to pass this back to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Emily. And as Emily mentioned, we will be posting a recording of this webinar on our Resource Center page under the topic SEO. And we'll also put the link there where you'll be able to get the guide that she referenced. So, very excited. And so, one of the things that our network wants to know is how often should we be evaluating our SEO?
That's a really good question. So, I recommend about every 6 months. So, it can take the first time you start paying attention to your SEO and taking some of the steps that we discussed today. It'll take usually about 6 months to start seeing the results that you're shooting for. And I recommend continuing to reevaluate at least every 6 months after that. If you have the time and the interest, certainly go ahead and keep an eye on it more. I wouldn't focus on it anymore. I wouldn't like refresh your keyword research or your SEO evaluation more than every 3 months because things can change very quickly. But 6 months is really a sweet spot.
Okay. And when do we know when to invest in a paid service? And we get so many emails. I know all of us have our inboxes, our spams that are full of so-called SEO experts that are cold emailing us on saying, "Hey, I'm an expert." So when should we go in and get a paid service? And then what should we do about those emails that we do get asking us or telling us that they're experts?
Both really good questions. So as far as let me just the first one first, as far as when you should invest, this is a really personalized question based on your business, your finances, and how comfortable you feel with SEO. If you're just starting out, you're very bootstrapped. There are steps you can take to improve your SEO right out of the gate. I wouldn't want anyone to let me phrase this. It's probably not the most important thing to invest. If you're starting a brand new business, SEO is probably not the most important thing for you to invest your money in if you have limited funds. Um, and I'm saying that as someone who does SEO. There are other branding and marketing and some SEO best practices work that you can do yourself. If you enjoy the process of tweaking your website SEO, there's a lot you can do on your own. There's a point at which keyword research can become very expensive to get access to like professional grade SEO tools. If you're at the point where you feel like you've exhausted all of the keyword research you can do yourself online or sharing with some of the free and freemium tools that I put in the resource list that you'll be sharing, then at that point, you'll probably want to consider working with someone you can get access through them to their broader suite of research capability without having to invest in this tool for yourself that you're only going to use occasionally. Um, Outside of that, I think it really comes down to your marketing budget. Again, I wish I had a more concrete answer for this, but it
Mhm.
is tricky. Now, the other side of things, as to about those cold emails, every SEO expert that I know that I trust and I respect, they do not do cold emailing. I actually get those cold emails too, and I delete them. Um, Typically, if someone is cold emailing you and they are promising very specific results, it is a scam. Um, I would avoid it.
Okay.
That's a real red flag to look for. SEO is something that is predictable, but it's not guaranteeable. So if someone says, "Oh, I can definitely get you XYZ," I'd be very wary. Um, Additionally, when it comes to getting your links on other websites, if someone comes to you and says, "Oh, you pay me $150, I'll get your
Yeah.
link placed on, CNN.com," I would avoid that as well. Every now and then there are real legitimate instances where that happens, but generally you want to avoid the pay to play type of structure for getting links, especially if your business is young or you're just starting out.
Okay, thank you. And so then that brings us to a question about even ads and our budget. So can you talk a little bit about our spend on ads and even social media ads? I know you talked a little bit about social media and we saw how it was a low percentage. So maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So social media and search engine advertising is separate than SEO. That advertising is called search engine marketing or pay per click marketing. Sometimes you'll see it referred to as PPC. Now, the difference is when you invest in an SEO strategy, whether that's investing your own time or paying for a tool or working with a consultant, you're doing an upfront cost, but then over time, what you get out of that upfront cost continues to work on its own. You might pay someone to write a blog post for you or develop a content strategy, but then once you create that content, it continues to live on the internet and continues to generate traffic to your site. Whereas when you run advertising, it can be a very effective method of getting clicks to your website, but the minute you stop paying, those clicks stop coming. It's very dependent on continual spend. So the amount of money that these ads costs, again, very much depends on your industry, your location, the platform you're using, who you're trying to reach, and the time of year. Um, Now you Google ads and like I know the Facebook Business Manager, not sure about TikTok, probably the case there too. They will let you go in and experiment with setting up an ad campaign so you can get an idea of how much an ad might cost before you actually put in your credit card information and pay for it. I think that if you have a new business and you are selling products, this can be a way to start pushing traffic to your website right off the bat. And that traffic does have value. Getting those clicks to your site, even from an ad, will help your SEO value over time. But again, remember that this is traffic that will stop the minute you stop paying for it. Um, as far as whether to run social media or search engine ads, if you know that you have a very large customer base on social media and maybe you sell products directly through TikTok Shop, for instance, then it may be worthwhile for you to invest some money in that. If your goal is to get traffic to your website, though, I personally would be more inclined to run a search engine ad over a social media ad. I used to run social media ads for my employer when I worked previously in house, and most of the clicks that our ads got were to our Facebook page, not to our website.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And so, since we're talking about Facebook, can Facebook pages be tied to business website SEO?
Very good question. Uh, Not really, actually. So Facebook is very much a walled garden. If you have a business page, it will probably show up for searches for your business. But it's not going to really benefit your website SEO. I think a lot of times marketing people talk in one breath about branding and SEO as like almost as if they're the same thing, and they're not. So search engine optimization is all about getting clicks to your website or clicks to your business profile, like in maps if people are doing a local search. Branding is about your exposure. How do people know about your company? Do they think of you? And there's certainly some overlap, but like your Facebook page can be very good for branding, getting exposure to people who use Facebook if that's where your target audience convenes, letting them know about giving them updates on your products and services. But Facebook itself is not going to benefit your website ranking.
Okay. And we keep hearing a lot about AI, AI. So, AI for SEO, is this critical? Is this something we need to think about?
No, you do not need to be thinking about it right now. There's a lot of hype around AI. I actually spend a fair amount of time experimenting with various AI tools because some of my clients
Mhm.
are interested in learning more about them. I have found a couple things so far. One, AI tools are not capable of writing high quality long form content. They can spit out usually like a social media caption length of text that makes sense, but after that, anything longer, it starts really degrading in quality. And there's actually a mathematical reason behind that because generative AI tools like ChatGPT use probability to pick what word should come next, and they start to run out of probable combinations. Um, so there's limits to what you can do in terms of using it to create content for your website, and in terms of can you use like ChatGPT or Google Gemini for SEO research? I've actually tried that because it would be great if we could go to like Google Gemini and say, "Hey, what are people searching for my business?" It can't do it yet. It will very confidently say, "Oh, here are search terms related to your business, and here's the average search how many searches are done every month," and they're very wrong. Like, I've gone and double checked them, and they're very off base. So at this point, that's not like, you're gonna be spending more time spinning your wheels trying to get something usable out of the AI tool. Over time, we're gonna start to see probably more AI showing up in search results, but that right now isn't changing anything that the average business owner needs to do when it comes to putting content on their website and optimizing.
Okay, thank you. And so when it comes to SEO, are there specific courses one can take to help improve their SEO skills?
Yeah, very good question. So in terms of general digital marketing, which I think if you're interested in doing your own SEO and you don't have much experience with digital marketing as a whole, I would start with looking for resources for digital marketing. HubSpot, HUBSPOT, is a company that has an academy. It's called HubSpot Academy, and they offer a number of free or low cost, I think they're mostly free, courses that you can take that will introduce you to different parts of digital marketing, some for search, some for email marketing, and I think that's really helpful for someone who's just dipping their toe in for the first time. If you've been experimenting with digital marketing and working on your own SEO and you enjoy it, then there are courses produced by the makers of SEO tools. These are tools that business owners and SEO experts use to get information about their audience and optimize their websites. The one is called Ahrefs. They have a course they have a series of video courses. They have a number of free videos on their YouTube channel that break down SEO topics. They use their own tool as a reference point, but a lot of this information you'll be able to take and apply to other tools or services or your own experimentation. And then on their website, if you have an account, if they do have it's not cheap, but a lower cost for them tier. I think it's like $100 a month for people who want to monitor their own website SEO. They're not working with a bunch of clients. If you have one of those accounts, you can also do some courses that they have for their customers as well. And I think that's a really good, like, reliable place to start. Um, there are also some SEO experts who produce regular content for YouTube. I create some content for YouTube. But there are some larger libraries done to people who are typically referred to when people are just starting out when learning SEO are Neil Patel and Brian Dean. They both have a large library of content on YouTube around SEO, everything from introductory topics through more expert advanced learnings.
Awesome. Good to know there are some free or low cost tools out there, especially
Yeah.
for startup businesses. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And
And then,
and oh, sorry, I was gonna
mhm.
say, and the
No, go
list
ahead.
that you'll be sharing in
Mhm.
the coming days, there are some free tools that you can use on there as well.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome. And what do we do if we're just not seeing results? Like we've taken some of the classes, maybe we've taught ourselves a few things, did some linking, and we're just not seeing results from our SEO efforts.
So
What's your suggestion there?
this kind of loops back to that first question about when should we really start working with an SEO expert. So I think if you're at this point, like, you've started your business, you've invested in your branding and marketing, and you've been experimenting with SEO, but you're not seeing the results you want, this is when I do think it's worthwhile to absolutely bring in an SEO consultant who you can work with. And the reason is, it may be that you simply just your research was off. Maybe your keyword research was off, your implementation was a little off, or you just need to do more of it and they can help you with this. But it could also be that there is something technical on your website, something in the code that is actually
Yeah.
limiting or blocking the access that search engines have to your website. And that can be very hard to diagnose on your own. And unfortunately, sometimes even like plugins you might add to your WordPress website that say, "Oh, we're going to help you with SEO or help you with marketing," that can actually have, depending on how many of them you have, you can actually have a detrimental effect. So that's where an SEO consultant come in. They can, like, I have tools that I use to I replicate what Google search engine crawlers do, and I make sure that websites can be accessed. I see, how does Google see this? What are they finding? What are they interpreting? And that can help you really address what you need to do next. And more often than not, especially if your website is built on like WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, a modern website builder, more often than not, even if there is a technical issue, the fix is pretty straightforward. It's just something that isn't readily apparent until you go in there and really dig around.
Okay. Thank you so much for helping us to decode some of the mystery behind SEO.
You're
This has
welcome.
been really helpful. Thank you so much for taking the time for us, and also to our Women's Net Network who submitted questions. Thank you so much. And remember that if your question wasn't answered in the Q&A or in the presentation, it may be in that guide. So thank you so much, and we will look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.